still attached to motherhood and how we need to be comfortable with being bad moms or terrible moms. So we have a selection of panelists. There is Pooja Bedi, who is, as we all know, she is an actress, TV show host, and columnist also.
Thank you.
Has a daughter and a son, grown-up daughter and grown-up son. So please come.
All right, thank you.
Srishti Arya is truly a self-made person. She started at the tender age of 16. She keeps her father's Rose Movies banner flying. So well done, you. She has a son, Arya. Lalita Iyer is a journalist, author. She's written 2 books, one on parenting, and Lalita has a son. Mathur is...
I'm coming on, I can't wait.
She's as we all know, she's an actress and she's also a model.
I'm also a moderator.
Model. And she has a son and a daughter. So let's start with the conventional parameters of being a good mother is somebody who is at home all the time, who the child can go run back to at any point of time, who cooks 3 meals a day and who worries all the time. Whereas a bad mom, as we all are, as most of us are, doesn't have the time neither to cook or be there when the child is craved or need. She has to wait till the evening when the child comes, when the mother comes back home. And so the question is it, I think I'll start with Lalita. Is there a guilt factor attached? Because, even though we all know that there is no way we can be the good moms that we're expected to be. Good in the sense it's not good, you know what I mean. So, do you think there is still a guilt factor involved? Because over the years, because we go out, we work, and we have no time for ourselves, and our children get limited time with us. So, is there some kind of guilt involved in spite of you knowing that this is the best you can do?
Yeah, so I'll speak for myself about the guilt part. No, I'm not guilty. I don't feel guilty. The funny thing is, I was raised by a mom who was like, she went back to work when I was like 40 days old, and she continued to work for the rest of her life. And she worked for 38 years as a teacher. And through our growing up, we always thought that, we never found anything amiss. I always thought our situation was perfect because we got the house to ourselves when we came home, and we could call friends, and basically, we had to tell, not ask too much. And life just went on. I had 2 siblings. I have 2 siblings, sorry. So she had twins after me. And for the longest time, in fact, until I became a mother, I thought that I had the perfect mother. I think she had the work-life balance really, really worked out. And I didn't feel anything...
It's easier said than done, that work-life balance.
No.
But I'm sure she had come...
No, exactly. I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
So when so after I had a child is when, you start having like very different conversations with your mother post having a child. Suddenly she becomes this other person who also had a womb. Okay, and you suddenly realize how she looked. How things looked like from her point of view. And I saw these revelations coming from her, saying that I wish, because I quit my job after I had Rehan. 6 months after, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. So that's because that's how I wanted to do it, and I also realized that I had reached that point where I was like, I wanted a break, and this was a good one. And she kept telling me that I wish I could have been like you. I was such a, I was not a good enough mom. this is the way to be. And I was like, no, that, you were great. You were just, this is just how I want to do it. And so from her point of view,
it's not the child which has a problem, but it's the society which.
And it's the expectations, and you think, because she's seen our cousins, some of them growing up with when they came home from school, mothers waiting with food and picking them up from the bus and whatever, and we were sort of, I had the keys to my house when I was 8 years old, and I was sending my siblings to school and things like that. So I sort of maybe grew up before my time, but I think it all sort of, it came together in a way that she didn't expect. She just hoped that things would just work out for the better, but she always had that guilt. She still does. I think when she sees, obviously I spend more time with my kid than she did with us, but the thing is, that didn't make her any less of a mom, but she still carries that guilt. And I don't feel, even though technically I'm supposed to be there all the time for my kid, lots of things happen. Like, I'm not on any WhatsApp group. There are days when I take him down to the bus stop and it so happens that it's a holiday in school and I don't know. There are times when he goes to school wearing a uniform.
When his WhatsApp groups are the death of him.
Absolutely. And I'm like, I will kill all of them.
He had something interesting to say about that.
I have a neighbor called Ami, okay, who works for Standard Chartered Bank. She lives in the building opposite me. She works in BKC all morning, comes back at 6 o'clock. Or whatever, 7 o'clock. 8 to 10, she's with her kid, okay, playing down when they are saying, ringa, ringa, rose. I can't stand that stuff, okay? So even though, it's like that. For her, she's spending 2 hours of whatever she can give, she's just putting in those 2 hours, and that doesn't make her any less of a mom than me, who shoots when I want to and whenever. I work, but I spend more. Her kid is 7 years old. She stays with a grandma, but she manages it. I'm saying we are two very different, we have very different work schedules, her and me. I'm home most of the day and then I'm gone for 5 days and, the kids just have to deal with it. Her daughters, she spends, I just look at her and I'm like, you've just come back from work, do you not want to lie in your bed and eat a cookie or something? No. She spends her time with her daughter and in those 2 hours she's putting in whatever she can. I don't see her daughter suffering from it at all.
I just want to reflect back to a show I did called Ma Exchange. In this Ma Exchange show, basically mothers swap homes, they go into each other's homes and they lead the life of the other parent as per their schedule for 4 days, and 4 days later you see what's going wrong in that home and what needs to be corrected, and you implement the next set of rules for the next 4 days. So here I am, this lady who's a working mom clearly. I have this beautiful home, I have staff that take care of everything. My nanny's been there with my kids since the time they were 6 months old. Today she's been with me for 19 years. So I have my home set, I have my staff, I have my cooks, everything's like clockwork, everything functions brilliantly so that their lives are not affected and I can also have my work life. So there's no guilt in the sense, are things being done, are they being looked after? I have a wonderful support system, fortunately for me, in place. So now I go to this lady's house who has no staff, who believes in not keeping a cook, just a top-up guy who comes in for like an hour, that's it. And she wants to be the woman who takes charge of everything in that home and do it hands-on. Great. So you go in there saying, this is what I have to do, and her routine, get up in the morning, do puja part, and then cook the food, cook the breakfast for the kid. And these are things I don't do at home because for me, I would much rather spend time with my children rather than being in the kitchen. Therefore, I hire somebody who will do that job because I know the food will be fantastic, and at the end of the day, my time with my child is important. So anyway, now I have to get up in the morning and cook breakfast for everybody and cook tiffins for the child, and lunch has to be cooked and dinner has to be cooked, etc. Not an issue because I can cook. However, when you enter a home and the dishes in the sink are filthy and there are bugs crawling out of the jars of things that are kept in the cupboards, and when you see that everything is dirty, there is dust, when you see that the child has 2 sets of school clothes where there are holes, when you see that the child's grades are 2 on 10 and he thinks that's good, you realize that something is fundamentally wrong. It's not the amount of time you give your child, it is the kind of time that you give your child that's most important. So,
clean house may not necessarily mean happy children.
No. My point is not that. No. One second. My point is not that. My point is when you decide to take on a role, you do that role well. If you want to be the sit-at-home mom, you be the perfect sit-at-home mom that makes the home a beautiful home. That is the job description you have taken on. I don't know why people say that being a housewife is not a job. It is a job. It is a full-time job. From the time you wake up in the morning to the time you sleep at night, you are working. And you cannot go out there and say, I want to be the mother who will do tuitions with the kids, but my children can get to 110. Or I will be the kind of mom who will not keep a cook, but my food is terrible. My son, I give him laddu and chocolate milk in the morning, and my child has 5 decayed teeth going on. That is not parenting. A good parent has to be somebody who puts in the quality. Exactly. So my point is that a parent, whatever role you choose to have as a parent, you do that role well, and if you cannot fulfill that role, you get somebody else to fill in the blanks to do that job and spend time being the kind of parent your child needs. She came to my home and she was busy in the kitchen because that's what she's used to. Belun chapatis, my kids on the table. So the cameras asked my kids, so how does it feel? They said, we don't know because our mom sits on the table and talks to us. She's not in the kitchen, belun chapati, she's on the table communicating with us. So every family has their own dynamics. Every family has what works for them. Every family needs love and nurturing, and no child in the world thinks their mother is imperfect. Every child thinks their mom is the best. And every child out there would not want to swap their mom for anyone else's mom. So the point is that you have a wonderful bond with your child irrespective. You have to live up to your own expectations. You have to live up to what you want in your life for yourself and how you see yourself as a parent. And what you can, and if you choose to feel guilty about the fact that I don't cook, well, you know, you've made up, or you should make up for it in some other way, which makes you feel good about being that parent. You know, so it's all about finding your own balance, because at the end of the day, no one's going to tell you what to do with your life or how to handle your kid. These are very interpersonal dynamics, and you have to make sure you raise a really wonderful child.
I like to, actually, my experience has been different from all the ladies here. I did go through a lot of guilt when I started working, mainly because I had a stay-at-home mom, and it was unexpected that I would have to work, and I was privileged enough to have a mom waiting at home who didn't cook and didn't clean and did not do anything except she was at home, and she was there for us.
But somebody else did it.
Yeah. And but in the beginning it was very difficult. I felt a lot of guilt, and like why I interrupted Lalita to begin with, it's not the kids, it's never the kids, it's the other moms. Who are like always making you feel that you're not doing enough because you have a child.
You come to a point where you think being a paranoid mother is being a great mother. You're always, you know, kind of keeping a tab on has the child, Ethan has the child.
It's like if your kid is not sitting for Olympiad and IPM, you are a failure because you haven't thought of it, and you should suffer and you're bad.
Your child is not sitting for all that because you are a mother. Otherwise, your genius would have topped everything. And the social life, oh bloody hell, these play
And also
dates,
this
man.
whole food and cooking thing, like just because I can cook does not mean that I'm going to cook every day. Like I got into this trap of, like, I like cooking, okay? I enjoy it. It's, you know, I love to bake and I've done stuff with my boys. But then, you know, I think it's all this precedent you set for yourselves. And I think we sometimes tend to sort of commit harakiri by doing certain things in a certain loop. And then we become victims.
You bake?
Exactly.
How many? What is it achieving?
Exactly.
Do it
And
on a weekend on a summer holiday, and that's
Child
done with then.
Absolutely. So then once you set the precedent and then you say, you know what, I don't feel like doing it, then it suddenly, you start wondering, why did you set that, you know, why did I actually overcome it? It's like, you know, you become your own...
You know, all children get the mother they need. It's my firm belief.
Absolutely.
Every child gets a mother they need.
Yeah.
I think it's very
Also, there are two things. You stay away from your child because you have to, or you stay away from your child because you want to. Sometimes you need to, you know, meet your friends. You need to have a life of your own.
You just want to be alone.
So you want to meet your friends. You don't want to, you know, make your child the focus of your life. There are other
I'm sorry, I'd interrupt you and then I will give the mic, okay?
Oh my God.
But no, the thing is that, you see, you don't spend time nurturing another part of yourself because you want to stay away from your child.
Yeah.
So it's the question is not whether you want to be with your child or
No, I'm
what
saying
want
just
to be with your child.
organically you
I think once you start thinking like that for yourself,
yeah.
is somebody coming out of that phase that one went through 14 years ago. But so I'm very much out of it. But the deal is that you have to see, children don't learn from what you tell them. Children learn from what they see.
Yeah.
Like Minnie was saying, if they see a happy, fulfilled individual, they expect to be happy and fulfilled, and that's our primary responsibility as parents, to teach them to be 360-degree individuals, and they cannot be that if they're going to see a unidimensional mother.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think most importantly to understand that we chose to have those children. We chose to give birth to them, so we have that responsibility towards them. And for me, my kids personally are my priority and my responsibility number one. My son just broke his femur bone. He was playing football 2 weeks ago. He was playing football, he broke his femur bone in half. I was on a flight from Delhi to Goa. I immediately turned around at the airport, came back. I had a workshop happening within the next 7 days. I just cancelled it, refunded the money, did all of that, because for me, he was my number one. And that's a decision, and these are the kind of complications that come to the life of a working mother, especially one where everything is dependent on you, because at the end of the day, you will not hand that kind of responsibility to anybody else. Your child is your number one priority, and he should know that at times that it matters. You know, yes, the rest of the day, the daily jargon of, you know, the whole, the cooking, the tuitions, the whatever, you know, that's like routines you fall into. But when it matters most, your children should know that they are your number one priority. Yes, you've chosen to have your own journey, your own life. You need to accomplish your own dreams. You have to have the me time. But when it matters, they are number one. And that should always be firmly established.
So, Minnie, I wanted to ask you, what do you think if you are an independent woman who's out there or working, whatever? So you think children automatically become independent themselves, or is this just an excuse?
Oh, so Shubha, this is my basic understanding of being a mother. Not everybody chooses to have kids. Mine were Dunkin' party products. But the thing is, I love them to death, okay? I have them. The moment you have them, you love them, okay? Now the thing is, Don't tell them I told you so, but I tell them myself. The thing is, I think the most important thing in a modern mother-child relationship is to have communication. Okay, you could be a baker, you could be a whatever, you could be a sit-at-home, cockroaches coming out, it doesn't matter. As long as your communication channels with you, if your child feels he can walk up to you, talk to you, tell you what's bothering him or her, and they feel that you always will drop everything and have an ear, whether it's on the phone. My son calls me the moment he sits in the school bus to tell me what's happened. I always know that at 3:05 I'm going to get a call. I try not to do anything at that time, but it doesn't mean I'm waiting for him when I'm coming back. So one is communication. The thing is, like she said, you know, every child gets the mother they need. It is true. Whatever you get them used to is what they'll find. For me, the principle that works is squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay, whatever is the problem at the moment, I will fix that. If you need me more, I will come to you. You need me more. I'm always running around, but I'm happy because they give me the time to run out, do my thing. I come back. I want to put more dum in those hours that I spend with them instead of just, you know, being around. I did that for a year. When they were small, I said, no, I'm going to bake, I'm going to sing, I'm going to play music. And when they come, I'll be so fresh and I hated it. I hated it because I was being grumpy. I felt life was passing me by and there were these kids and everything they said was irritating. And, you know, I felt I'm over. And the moment I started going out and doing my thing, they just seemed, I wanted to come back to them, share my day with them, you know. So for me, having an open relationship with them at whatever age. I do everything. I never hide anything from them. If I want to take that odd smoke with my wine, I do it. Okay, and they are the ones who come to me and they're like, you know, Mama, it's very bad. It's okay, I'm bad. You know, this is it. It's killing me, but I'm doing it. You know? Yeah. So I feel they're my friends. Once your kids are your friends, you can never go around baking, no baking, talking, no talking. You know, it's all the same.
Also, I think not mollycoddling. Like I say, for instance, in a worst case scenario, my daughter, she's had a fight with her best friend at 3 p.m. say, and she tries, and tragedies happen at that age. It's a big thing, and she calls me. I'm in a meeting. I can't call her back. So by the time I come back, she's resolved it herself, and she's gone back to being best friends. So I think that kind of makes them their personality.
As long as they know that you will be there when they need you. If they want you, like I've always told my son.
She needed me at 3 p.m.
Oh, at 3 p.m. you didn't take the call.
No,
bad mom. You should have taken the call.
No, that's what I'm saying. But she managed to have it. Doesn't need me anymore whenever she has a fight.
Fine.
So that's fine. I think
ultimately it's about picking your battles. I mean, you need to sort of, you really need to figure out what is really important to you in the scheme of things and work accordingly. And I think kids really get that. Like after my Zen phase of baking and doing stuff, and all of that. One day I realized, shit, I mean, this is not me. I'm not like this person waiting around for someone to come and then me impressing that person. It felt good for a while, but that was not me, and I moved on. And I also did things like, I took my kid, we went to a school to study, where I taught, and we were living on a mountain for a year, and I thought it was really good for us to declutter and live that rejuvenated life. But for me, it was great for him because he was climbing trees, he was learning to swim in the river, and he was completely in abandon and, in touch with nature and stuff. But the community part got to me. I really didn't fit in that school, and I decided to come back. And everyone was like, why are you doing this to him? And I'm like, everything can't be about him. I mean, I have to reclaim myself back. So, and it's funny because sometimes when you make these difficult decisions, a certain part of you, your personality shifts. And I realized that there were times when I was not that Zen person. There were times when I was losing it, like my son calls my shouty voice. But I'm so glad I found shouty back because shouty was me, so
Yeah, I think also what we need to factor in as moms is that also there is certain development stages in our child's life that are crucial, if as per psychology, data, research, etc. When you talk about the formative years, and you know that your child from the age of 0 to 7, those are the most formative years for their emotional, mental, and their fundamental growth, and as to what kind of value systems, belief systems, the kind of people that they shape themselves to be. This is all researched and it's all out there. So the 0 to 7 age is the most important for a mother to be an actual nurturer, to put in to that emotional state, that the mental, what you teach them. Yeah, I know it's like a very tiger mom that you say, do your maths and do this course and I'll learn the piano and learn this and that. But actually when you go to see, it's what you're putting in at that very fundamental, crucial age is what shapes them to be who they are in the future. So we have to now, with modern day advancements and the fact that we are researching all these things, take into consideration the fact that these things actually do help and are important in a much larger picture.
But isn't it more a trial and error method than these scientific things?
I understand that, but there is something called development stages, which is something that is clinically researched, and that's something that we can turn a blind eye to if we choose to, or we can turn around and say, yes, these are tabulated things, a lot of research is done on the same, and we can therefore benefit, and our children can benefit from the same. You can turn around and say, it's all nonsense, that's fine. Or you can turn around and say, this is data, so let's use it. This is something that's important. Everyone has, I grew up in a very unconventional bohemian family. I grew up in a family where, I came home to my mom at age 16 and said, this is ridiculous. You never ask me where I'm going. You let me wear what the hell I want to wear. You never ask me who I'm going out with at night. I have no deadlines. You don't say, when I come home at 6 in the morning, where were you? There's no deadline. What the hell? So she said, when I go to my friends' homes, their mothers make me aloo ka parothas, and they're so, beta ye khao, beta wo khao. People come, you're like, go check what's in the kitchen, what's in the fridge. I'm like, this is wrong. You can't be this kind of mother. So she kind of stared at me. She said, so what would you like me to do? So I said, you should tell me, Pooja, this dress is inappropriate, or, you shouldn't be so short, or, like my friends have deadlines, like be home by 12, 1, that concept, and ask me who I'm going out with. You should be concerned about these things. And she just stared at me. She said, so you want me to tell you what to wear, who to go out with, what time to come back? I said, yes. She said, but if you know it, then why should I be telling you? So I said, because that's what good mothers do. So she said, oh, interesting. She said, okay, so how about this? I want you, when you come home from school, to massage my feet, because I'm a dancer and my feet get very tired. And I want you to, massage my feet. I also would like you to learn classical dance and put oil in the hair. And I said, Mama, please, that's so nonsense. She said, no, you have this vision of a great mother. I have this vision of a great daughter. So either we can get into role playing and do the whole, this is how it should be, or we just organically grow together and respect each other as individuals. I believe I brought up an intelligent, dynamic child, and I'd like you to believe the same about me. So let's respect the individual journey.
One of the most radical people there. It's admirable that she would say something.
She's a rare breed. So I don't think you can use it.
But I know, I grew up as a reaction to that. Everything was monitored with my kids. Where are you going? What are you wearing? Etc.
So, I just like to bring up another point. I heard a very interesting term some time back. I think Konkona, when she had a baby, the actress Konkona, she had told me that my mom she was very worried because she had this little thing and she's this arty, director, actor. And she said, my mom used a very interesting term once. She's brought us up with what I call benign neglect. Okay? Which I loved. I said, benign neglect is exactly what I'm going to aim for. You look after everything the child needs in terms of physicality, in terms of this thing, but you let them be and let them find a place of their own. I completely hate this whole momzilla breed. I call them momzillas. They are in the running for everything. I can't stand them because they feel that their worth comes from whether their child is learned piano, riding chess, falana, everything, football, even I do. But I'm saying let them choose one thing and be good at that. But yes, expose them, like Pooja said, to everything. But I don't believe that the formative years from 1 to 7 is what decides what they're going to be. My son is 13.
No, not decides what they're going to be. It shapes their thought patterns, their dynamics, their mental quotient, their emotional quotient, the IQ, EQ. That is shaped. It's not who they're going to be.
My son is 13 now, and I feel he needs me more now.
It's not about that.
I could have fed him.
We're not getting it. But it's not about that.
I think what she's saying
is the IQ, EQ quotient is developed.
Yeah, they'll need us all their lives
to eat
until they get those vibes.
A vitamin when an embryo is developing.
Srishti, since you're the only one who admitted to having felt guilty, is there anything that you think you could have done better if you were at home?
I am not that person. I mean, I can't even imagine being that person, unfortunately. Yeah, but there are days like when you see I don't know, it's all the kids are so busy and mine is reading at home, so it's like, I wonder if he would have been a footballer if I had taken him every morning to play football sometimes. I wonder. You also wonder, he was a great swimmer, but he didn't continue swimming because I never got on his case about it. The challenge is always, when do you let them do what they want? When does it become a chore? And when is it encouragement as a parent? That's always been a...
Also, how do you deal with the pressure when all the moms around are like...
Why are they all trying to breed these champions? I don't understand. Everyone can't be a champion.
So how do we deal with the pressure? Cool moms. I mean, I used...
You would know what's up 2 years.
No, it's about enabling your child to reach their potential, which is
be
the
the best
thing that gives you a little bit of a concern that am I doing this right?
I think you should leave the rest to destiny. Everyone comes in with their own, some of the most boring people I know are the ones who top class. Okay, and the people who you didn't even notice in school are the ones who are making radical cutting edge stuff today. So who's to say that if you max your child's potential, by the time he's 12, he's going to lead the world or rule the country. It's not possible. You have to leave some things to just, God, and let them be the individuals they're destined to be.
Yeah, I think also what you need to put across to them is an attitude which says that I'm not okay with mediocrity, I want to be the best. So whatever they choose for themselves, that they strive to be the best at it, and they're not just complacent with being mediocre. That's extremely important too.
That comes from the parent. We all know that.
But I think at the end of the day, you know your child and your child knows himself or herself. And I think if that communication is open and if you, there was a point where I was thinking, oh, you know what, should I be sending him for some sport? Should I be doing football? Should I be doing this? Because he was just happy to play at home with dolls and paint and, he's very arty. So I'm like, so that's what he is. So, I mean, there is no need. First of all, I mean, there is always this whole boxing that happens. Sending to school themselves, I mean, that itself is putting them in a box. And then how many more boxes can you put them in? I mean, at some point they need to just find their own box or non-box, So I guess that rhythm, you just have to allow that to follow.
I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions to ask. So, anybody?
Or comments?
Yeah, it's really nice to have comments.
Hi, I'm Stuti. One question to you, all of them can answer. Now, I have seen a lot of children who tend to put their parents into a guilt spot, saying that, uski mummy aisa karti hai, aap to karti nahi ho. So, has there any instance been with you guys wherein you've been put in that spot, and how have you dealt with it?
Well, I'm in it right now at this very moment as I speak, because what happened is, say for example with my daughter, okay, put her into every possible thing. She's been in the, sorry to be that kind of mom, she's been in the hockey team, she's been in a school soccer team, she's been a class topper, she got into one of the best universities in America, NYU, a 4-year course. She decided, I don't want to do, after 1 year, I don't want to do NYU, I want to go to NYFA, New York Film Academy. And I worked so hard to get into NYU, and all that comes with being the time mom and arranging her for her to write columns and whatever extra stuff you need to do to get into these prestigious places. And now she wants to toss it all up and go to NYFA. After a lot of debate, she said, okay, fine, do it. Then she decides, instead of 1 year of NYFA, she now wants to do 6 months of NYFA and come back to Bombay and join films. So I'm like, after all that, this is what she wants to do? Okay, you just kind of settle and say, fine. Then she's having a really good time in New York. And she says, Mama, I don't want to do 6 months. Actually, I want to extend it by another 6 months. This is 10 days before she's supposed to come back for good. And my ex-husband says, that's fine, but you know what? We're not going to fly you back for the holidays in that case, because there's too much to juggle and turn and more payments to put out. So no Christmas holidays for you back in India. And you are basically going to spend 10 days alone in New York, because you want to spend another 6 months in New York. Tremendous guilt. My child hasn't come home for like 6 months. That means I won't see her for a year if she doesn't come back. 1 year without your child, who's like your baby, and you're just literally banishing her in another country, and it's Christmas, and it's family, and that whole spirit, and there's tremendous guilt. And then she says, we have nothing to talk about, and hangs up on you, and says, won't you pay for my ticket coming back for 10 days? No, I will not. These are things that you made a decision to stay, you bear the repercussions of that decision. And it's very hard to be tough, and it's very hard to be that person. But if you don't teach them that, if you don't teach them that there are repercussions to everything, and everything is not an entitlement, and it's not on whims and fancies, and you make decisions and you live with the repercussions of that, it's hard. So right now we're in that very awkward space where I'm the bad mom for not flying her back, and I won't see her for a year. But these are decisions you really need to make. So yeah, I'm in it right now, but you have to be the good cop, bad cop, and at times you really need to be a tough mom, because it's in their much larger, greater interest to do so.
So I have something to say here. Sorry to jump into this panel, because I'm not a panelist here. So I went through school, my daughter's school, my first one's school, as a very confused mom. And the first time mother, no maternal instinct, have no idea I can keep a goldfish alive, but children is a different deal altogether. And I was always the mother who actually got spoken about outside of the WhatsApp, parallel WhatsApp groups that Minnie and I were talking upstairs. Because my kids were somehow being tossed around through life. They weren't really my older one. At that time I only had one child, wasn't excelling at anything, and I did not know the class mums' names, because I didn't think that my friendship with the class mother will dictate my child's future friendships. So I said each child has come with his own destiny, to the God above, universe, whatever, it all fall into place somehow. But there was self-doubt, because the child would come back and say, this one mother bakes, that one does this, she's at the school gate every day, and every time I was in a race against myself, trying to please the other moms maybe, or the kind of calming down the insecurities within me as a mom.
Oh, it's
And-
maybe to make the child more comfortable.
No, whatever. I'm just saying that it was a thing that I didn't come prepared for. There's no training school for moms to be, right? It's you learn at your own expense. And finally, and then I kind of wrote a book about it, and it came in my book because I was the bewildered mother. And my epiphany came when I was watching Downton Abbey one day. I don't know which one of you here has watched it, and it's in the epilogue of my book too. So Mary Crawley is this very la-di-da kind of nobleman's daughter and duke's daughter, earl's daughter, whatever, and she tells her grandmom that my husband's dead and I'm not maternal and I don't see how I can be a mother to this baby. So the grandmom, Maggie Smith, says there is more than one kind of a good mother. And that line, that was what actually I realized, that I don't have to be like her, or her, and let them slag me off and say what they like, but as long as your heart is in the right place, you stumble, you falter, and you get by.
Absolutely. That's fantastic what you just said. I just feel you should not allow anyone to make you feel guilty about the kind of person you are or the kind of mother you are. You are being the best version of yourself always. I remember my son came one day and said, Mama, Arhan's mother, she made these croissants and she bakes croissants. And they were like, yeah, man, you don't bake any croissants. I said, yeah, but she must be just sitting at home baking all day, man. Whatever. No, she's a pilot. I was like, okay, I am so not competing in this zone. So after that day, I've kept my mouth shut. I said, she bakes and she's a pilot. Good for you, girl. More power to you. I can't compete there. So I'm going to do what I can do and you lump it because you got no choice.
I did simple thing. When my son, I think he was about 6 when he first told me. He said, "Oh, you know, this one's mom does this thing," and I said, "Yeah, and he does that." So let's not get there. Never asked you who's got more marks than you. So don't tell me who's got less marks than you. I'm talking to you. You talk to me. And that's it.
I'm sure a lot of you will have like interesting experiences to share. Can we have a mic there?
I think I've been loud enough. My name is Lalita and I have a 4-year-old. And my question is actually for something I'm sure you guys have experienced. I'm very interested in knowing your personal experiences with this. She's almost 4 and the other day she asked me, how do babies get into tummies? Okay. Now, this is the one thing. So, like, you know, just the shock of the situation.
The family discussion altogether.
Okay, so like, you know, I did the safe thing that we all do. Bhuvanji decides, right? He decides everything. But in your personal lives, how did you sort of bring the topic up with your kids, and at what age did you tell them, and how much did you tell them? That's I want to figure out what happened before.
No.
It was like a 15 years ago.
I got it at 6.
I have one line. You were in daddy's heart, then you came into mommy's tummy.
You know, how old was he?
That's my daughter. My son knows it all.
So my son came to me and he said, "Mom, is it true that the guy's MP goes in the girl's MP?" And I was like, "What the hell is MP?" Main point. I didn't know that. No, but this is he was in an international school, my son, and there were a lot of expats. And this I learned from them. You take out an encyclopedia and you open to the page of biology. They lose interest by the time you start showing them. So you have said the truth. The child knows that you'll answer the question. It's not something mumbo jumbo. But they're not interested once they start seeing the intestine and the stomach. Make it scientific. Make it scientific. With a cross-section scientist, nobody interested in science.
Make it boring.
It's honest. It's the truth.
Boss, have you ever imagined your parents doing it?
My mother didn't tell me what clearing a period is. And I'm the eldest of 4.
Lover.
Okay. Stay at home, mom.
So, Pooja? Well, I know I said something really cute when to the probably that age and asked me. I probably said something equally cute and offhand, etc., because it's not the age and stage to understand any of that. But I remember when I decided it was time for them to have sex education, and I sat them down at the table to explain it to them, they looked and said, "Mama, please, we know all about it. Please, we do not need to have this discussion with you." So I said, "You're just 11, how could you know all these things?" You know? And I said, "Okay, then explain to me what you know, because you could be misinformed. So I want to know whether you've been misinformed or accurately informed." I said, "Mama, please." I said, "No, then if you're not going to tell me, I'm going to tell you." And that's when I sat down and told them. They were sitting there with one hand on their ear and sitting on the table like this. I said, "You know what, I don't even been informed, misinformed, I'm just going to tell it to you as it is."
So I'm sorry. I had my son, and they were like 9, I think, when Delhi Belly came out. And there were all these boys sitting in a room and going, "Bhag, bhag, DK boss, DK boss." And I happened to be home early. So I go into his room and I'm like, "Hi boys," and they're like, "Hello auntie." And I said, and they're all a little scared of me because anything can come out of auntie's mouth at any time, right? My sister-in-law says, "Don't say anything, I'll teach my son, don't teach him." So I go and I say, "You guys, this song is famous, huh?" And so they started storming. I said, "Do you know what it means?" You know, it's a naughty song. And they were like, "Yeah, huh. Do you know what it means?" And I was like, so they were like, "No." I said, "Shall I tell you?" And they were like, "No." And I said, "But if you're going to sing the song, let me tell you what it means." And so they ran, and I ran behind them. Listen to me. But my son just stood there like, cross armed and saying, "Mom, stop."
But it works really well. I'm telling you, being on the front foot with children always works. So I have very clearly told my son that any time you think of a bad word or you hear it from a friend like PC, MC, whatever, come to me, I will tell you what it means. Then you decide whether you want to use it on someone or not. And I have explained it in literal terms what it means. he has never abused after that. Because, you know, the cool state gets taken out of it. So there.
What age did you tell them that? Because my daughter has started picking up these bad words, and I usually tell her, you know, don't use that. But at what age would you? How old is she? But she'll use a word like, I'm like,
how old is she?
How old is she? 3, and
You must use the word.
Who's using those words around it? How do you pick that
but
up?
it just sounds naturally sometimes. So I tell her, Mama, use bad word. Don't use that. Is that what you do? I mean, what age you tell
No,
them?
if you do it yourself, it's so hard to tell a child, I can do it, you can't do it.
I
That's,
said, Mama used a bad word. I will not do it again. So you don't do it.
yeah, but then if it was just a one-time thing, she wouldn't have remembered it. So, I don't use bad language, and bad language, offensive language of any kind, F word, anything is not allowed in my home. It is, I mean, maybe they use it with their friends because that's a ethos or a space they enter there. But around me, in the home, there is no use of any bad language permissible from the time they were very tiny, and that's remained till date, and they're 19 and 16.
What age you tell them?
You can't tell her at 3 obviously, but maybe you can try something, start a collection jar. Every time you use some bad word, you put something in it. And if she does it, she needs to put something in it. So she needs to be aware what she's doing is wrong. And she needs to see you also acknowledging that what you're doing is wrong, not just with words, but in equality. That may help.
So what happens when they get to that rebellious teenage phase and they put $100 in there and say, now I'm going to say it 100 times?
For me, I beg to differ with both of you. Because we use language quite freely. I'm not saying dirty language, but language freely. Yeah, but the thing, I admire you for being able to control your words. Just keep quiet in person. Okay, but I'm saying that what I tried to get my husband to watch what he's saying, but sometimes they're walking through a room and we are on the phone with someone with at work or whatever. Language is free, okay? My deal is simple. This means this. It is a terrible word. You can't use it till you are so old. Okay. After that, since I believe in open communication with my children, I believe they should know the kind of people we are, and not imagine. Also, I think restricting and just blocking it off from your children, saying in front of me you can't do it, but they know that you do it when you're out with your friends. It doesn't give them a very. I feel they should know what you are about and how you communicate with your friends. Except that they are not old enough to use this kind of language.
Well,
and if you think that they are not using it with their friends, then I think you're wrong.
If they are, they are. But for me, it's a sense of, this is how I bring up my children, that they don't use these words because, the way I explained it to them, I said people who use bad words have limited vocabulary, right? So, that's the way my mother brought me up. She never used bad words. She never ever uttered the F word. We were brought up in an environment where we just never used that word. It was never spoken around me. It's something I have never used personally, and something that, for me, in my home, in my personal environment, it's not welcome. So,
my kids don't abuse either, ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whichever way you can get them to stop.
There's no right way of stopping it.
My mom used to grow up and say, it's balti basket, it's aloo ka parotha, not ulu ka parotha, it's aloo ka parotha. So we're going to explain to you what this is. Look at her zapped.
Hello, I would like to share something. Sorry, I've got a bad throat. When my daughter was 3 years old, my husband is from a business family from Vapi. So he used to always use abusive language because he had to deal with labels. And he used to use BC every often. And I didn't have guts to tell him that time stop. And we had gone in a restaurant in Daman, a very famous restaurant called Sandy. And we were sitting poolside for a dinner. And my daughter, naughty 3-year-old, she picks up salt and pepper from the table and throws it in the pool. And the manager knew us, we go there at least once a week. He's like, Beta, aisa nahi karte. That 3-year-old child tells the manager, BC. And literally she tells that word. And it was so embarrassing for me. I was so ashamed that how can a 3-year-old tell a manager is telling her with the cute that Beta, aise pool mein salt and pepper nahi fenkte. She is telling him BC, like a full word. I don't want to say it now.
Say now.
Should I? Okay. That day, now my daughter is 23, but that day I took a stand. Till that day I used to never stop my husband use that language. I used to, wo chalta hi hai, Vapi mein factory mein work se deal karna. You have to. That day I told my husband, if you use that word, like yesterday I could not take that embarrassment. after that day, 20 years in my house, no one has used that language because I had firmly taken a stand, and it actually, those words in my 3-year-old child came from home. So I realized our mistake and we changed it, and today thankfully no one speaks.
What did you threaten your husband?
We will talk it in husband-wife relationship. Today let's talk about mother and child. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm sure everyone has like anecdotes to share.
I think regards to the topic being a bad mom, I'm sure all of us have been through this. Husband, wife, someone has to be a good cop, the disciplining type who says respect time, only 2 scoops of ice cream and all of that. So I went through this major phase. My son is just 6 years old. I tell him after 2 scoops of ice cream, you cannot have the first. You are the worst mom in the world. You don't let me eat ice cream. You don't let me be up post 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever. It's very difficult to deal with it because you know what you're doing is right. At the same time, you don't want your son to say all those mean things to you. So the first time he said, "You are a bad mom," I was almost, in tears. I sat down.
I think the best thing to say when the child says you're the worst mom, you should say, "I accept the challenge."
So he was just 4 years old at that time. I think it's a phase you get over it, but it's difficult. So once you get over it, you can crack jokes about it. When you're going through the phase, it's a little difficult.
It's like before my children got into the teenage phase, I told them, I said, listen, you're going to enter a phase called the teenage phase. And in this phase, you're going to think I'm an idiot. You're going to think I'm stupid. You're going to think I'm annoying. You're going to think I'm irritating. I said, and I'm going to make a note of all these words because when you go through the teenage phase and you start using these words, you're so irritating, you're so annoying, you just don't understand. I said, when you use these words, I'm going to remind you and say, I told you this before you're telling me this, which means it's an agent stage, it's not me, and then you're going to get into your 20s, mid-20s, and then you know what, you're going to love me again. So every time I started going through this typical teenage phase, which they will all go through, and these words started getting used very freely with me, and I said, see, I told you, and they got so annoyed every time I'd say that to them and say, it's a phase, darling, it's a phase, it's not me, it's a phase. That annoyed them even more, and now of course it's reached a point where it's reaching even keel again. But it's really important for you also as a mother to understand that it's not personal. They need their own journey. They are going to go through their own development stages, mentally, emotionally. You are going to be used as some sort of filter. You're going to be used as some kind of wall that they will need to bang into to get their own identity, to develop their own personality. Whatever you do, they will be either a product of it or a reaction to it. It's fine. It's not personal. It's their journey. Just do the best that you can do. Just feel happy that you have done your best. That's the most important thing.
I think, thank you, lovely ladies, and I think they all deserve a round of applause. This is fun.